Welcome to the BEASTwriter family where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we are going to continue breaking down my 32 NFL draft grades, sticking within the NFC East. Now, if you watched yesterday's podcast, I went ahead and did one on the Philadelphia Eagles, kicking off the NFC East grades in my grading system. Now we're continuing on this hump day, dissecting the Dallas Cowboys draft picks, I should say. So before we go ahead and get started, I just want to say thank you and mahalo to each and every one of you for subscribing to my channel. Just be sure to turn on and flip on the bell notifications so you get notified when I go live or when I upload content. Also, please do me a solid, like all my videos, comment on my videos. If you do like my videos, if you don't, that's fine either. You don't have to like it, but if you do like my videos, please be sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen if you have yet to subscribe, and hit the like button as you're watching this video if you like the content. Obviously, I want to do this full time, but if I don't get the engagement, I don't know which direction this is going to go in. So obviously, this has to be a full-time job. I have to pay the bill somehow. So please do me a solid. It doesn't cost a thing on your end. So just go ahead and hit the like button and spread the word to all your family and friends, because if you like it, chances are someone else will as well. So thank you so much. And again, I wouldn't be here without you guys in my corner. All right, so let's go ahead and break it down. We're not going to waste any time. Let's stick within the NFC East, talking about your Dallas Cowboys. All right, so the Dallas Cowboys, they made a concerted effort to go ahead and stay on the defense side of the football. They wanted to go ahead and make a play on the defense side of the football. And with their first round pick at number 10, they opted to trade down just 2 spots with the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for that number 12th overall selection. And the question is, why did they move down 2 spots? Well, from what I was hearing, if you watch my earlier live streams, I was told time and time again that they wanted to go cornerback. You know, with Dan Quinn there playing that cover 3 scheme, they really wanted a boundary cornerback who kind of fits that mold of the tall, rangy type of a cornerback. Well, you had that in Patrick Surtain. You also had that in J.C. Horn. So with those 2 guys off the board, with a semi-surprise pick with the Carolina Panthers opting for J.C. Horn over Patrick Surtain, and then Patrick Surtain following 1 pick later to the Denver Broncos, who stayed pat at number 9, well, that just made life easier for the Dallas Cowboys because obviously they wanted to go cornerback. The only 2 cornerbacks who were tier 1 first-round picks were off the board, and now they had the option to go ahead and trade down and stockpile more picks for the foreseeable future. That's exactly what they did. So once Surtain was off the board at number 9, they struck a deal with the Philadelphia Eagles, who wanted a wide receiver in Devontae Smith. Now, if you guys remember, at number 6, the Miami Dolphins went with Jalen Waddle, which is Devontae Smith's teammate, and he was sitting there for the Dallas Cowboys at number 10. However, they don't need a wide receiver. They already drafted CeeDee Lamb in the first round last year. They have Michael Gallup and they have Amari Cooper. So when you have a trio of wide receivers already there, the need isn't there to go ahead and select that best player available. Even though it is the best player available, you really don't need that pick to be a wide receiver. So what you're going to do is you're going to trade down a couple spots, pick up a 3rd round pick, number 84 overall. That's exactly what the Dallas Cowboys did, and allow Devontae Smith to stay within the division, going to the Philadelphia Eagles, but they gained a 3rd round pick in return. So I really like this play because at number 12, they went ahead and still got the player that was probably targeted in the cluster of players that they wanted to target at number 10 anyways, if cornerback was off the board. And they knew that the New York Giants weren't going to go linebacker. They would probably go in a different direction. So not only did they wide receiver block the Giants from selecting Devontae Smith, but then they also knew that the Giants weren't going to go linebacker at the pick that they were selecting. Ultimately, we all know what happened there. The Giants opted to then trade that out of that spot with the Chicago Bears. So with that being said, the Dallas Cowboys stuck to their guns. They selected Micah Parsons, who many believe is the best defender in this entire draft class, definitely the best linebacker in the country. And they did so without giving up anything in return and gaining a draft pick overall. So again, I really like this play that the Dallas Cowboys made and Jerry Jones made. It was a 2-for-1 deal, a really sound play for them. So again, by landing a top linebacker in the entire country at pick number 12, because Sean Lee retired, we don't know what's going on with Leighton Vander Esch's injury history. It really makes sense, and it forced Dallas to address the second level linebacker depth, and they did so at pick number 12. So I really like Micah Parsons. Now, there are some concerns as far as red flags. He has some off-field things that I'm not going to discuss in detail, but you guys can Google that stuff. Yeah, it's a cause for concern, but is it the end-all be-all? No, because the talent is too good to be denied. And at pick number 12, if you're arguably getting the best linebacker in this year's draft class who has 4.3 speed, 4.39 speed, 4.42 speed, I mean, the guy can fly. Why not go after a guy like Micah Parsons, who is basically going to be the guy that's going to be counted on to take on the running backs coming the flat, the tight ends running down the seams, and can also be a strong edge rushing presence in pass rush situations because he played defensive end back in high school, right? So again, I see him as a perfect fit for Dan Quinn's cover 3 scheme. I also like, because he'll be defending the curl flat or the curl hook route, depending on where he lines up. But from what I'm gathered right now, he's going to be playing the Mike position. And with that being said, and he's going to be playing the Mike position, it's going to be kind of a guessing game, I guess you would say, because he's not very strong when it comes to his run fits. He takes himself out of plays way too much. He guesses way too much in the run support. So that will need to get cleaned up. He doesn't know how to really leverage his keys or his splits. These are some of the things that you want to look for in a linebacker who's very instinctive. However, his play can't be denied. He has a sideline to sideline presence to make his presence known on any given play, which is why they often take linebackers this high in the round, because the potential is there. So with that being said, they filled the need while going best player available with both cornerbacks off the board. Parsons is my number 10 ranked player on my big board. He slips to number 12. I like this pick for the Dallas Cowboys. So if I was to put a letter grade on this, I would have to give them a letter grade of an A. All right, now let's go ahead and move on. Let's put the ticker here. All right, in the second round, the Dallas Cowboys opted to select cornerback. Obviously, they missed in the first round, like I just said, and they took Kelvin Joseph, number 44, out of Kentucky. I get the position, but I question the player. I really question the player because Kelvin Joseph is really undisciplined as the boundary quarterback. Now, he makes a lot of plays on the football, and he gets his hands up in the air at the catch point, yada, yada, yada. But if you're going to go cornerback, I would have rather the team selected Asante Samuel Jr., who comes from NFL bloodlines with his father playing with the New England Patriots over the course of the years, and he was the best nickelback in this entire draft class. So again, he's the most fundamentally sound cornerback of the two, and I think that goes back to the NFL bloodlines that he had from his father. Again, I like Joseph, but I like Samuel Jr. a little bit more, especially when it comes to his technician game, right? He's very sound at the line of scrimmage. He plays with sound fundamentals, doesn't open his hips up too early, something that Kelvin Joseph does. He gets bit on double fakes, gets over aggressive in the trail mode. So when he's on the hip of the receiver and he's running in the trail mode, he gets beat deep. He often gets beat again on the double move on the comeback routes or the hitches. So you really got to focus on that. Asante Samuel knows how to leverage his splits and how to leverage his technique a little bit better at this stage in their careers. However, I can't argue with the Kelvin Joseph pick because they did need a boundary cornerback. And again, what I like about Kelvin Joseph is he can play press man or he can play zone coverage. So again, you team him up with Trevon Diggs out of Alabama, last year's first round pick or second round pick, whatever he was drafted. I believe it was a first round pick, but if not, second round pick, whatever. They then team up with Kelvin Joseph this year. They now have two boundary quarterbacks for the foreseeable future. I really like these players and think both players will do wonders for the team moving forward. So if I had to put a letter grade on this, I would have to give them a letter grade of a B. All right. Now let's go ahead and talk about the third round pick. This is where it kind of gets interesting and the grades kind of drop for me. They selected in the third round, number 75, pick number one. In the third round, picked 75, Osa Odighizuwa. And again, I know they had a need for defensive line. They obviously drafted Neville Gallimore out of Oklahoma last year. He was shrunk down to a defensive tackle. I thought he could play nose tackle. They kind of moved him outside the defensive end, but he can kick inside the defensive tackle if they need be. But again, there's better players on the board than Osa Odighizuwa, right? You look at Tommy Tremble, who went to the Carolina Panthers at number 83. I thought that was one of the steals of the third round altogether. Just goes 8 picks later. When you watch that Carolina Panthers podcast, I give him a B grade, but Tommy Tremble was a big part of it. He was a big H-back and a steal at that point in this draft. So again, when he was still on the board, I thought he would have been a better play. Again, if you're going to go defense, why not get the best defensive player and possibly use the shotgun approach? Why not go after a guy like Paulson Adebo out of Stanford? He fits the mold to a T in Dan Quinn's cover 3 scheme. Tall, rangy, quick. Coming out of Stanford, who else came out of the farm? Richard Sherman. So again, I would have liked them to take Paulson Adebo, who then goes to the New Orleans Saints, right? So why not turn a weakness into a strength? Because right now, heading to the draft, it was a weakness as far as boundary cornerback. Now they get Kelvin Joseph in the second. Why not get Paulson Adebo in the third? And now you have Trayvon Diggs. Now you have a camp battle. Now you have 3 viable cornerbacks that you can have on the field at all times, because most of the times offenses are in their 3 base wide receiver sets. And when you have 3 base wide receiver sets, obviously the base defense is going to be nickel, right? Dime. So you're going to have multiple defensive backs on the field 65% of the time anyways. So why not go after Paulson Adebo? I don't know. And to take matters a step further, peeling back another layer of the onion to get to the core, as I always like to say, left guard Connor Williams. All right. He was drafted in 2018. Well, he's in the last year of his contract. Why not go after a guy like Quinn Miners so you can have some type of insurance policy in case Connor Williams is not re-signed next year and he decides to test the free agent market? Quinn Miners is sitting there at 75. He goes to the Denver Broncos, which is why they got an A grade, or one of the reasons why they got an A grade. Obviously got Javonte Williams and obviously got Patrick Surtain, who we just spoke about. So again, you can see what the Denver Broncos were doing. Why didn't the Dallas Cowboys take an offensive guard? I don't know. All 3 of those players that I just mentioned, Paulson Adebo, Quinn Miners, and Tommy Tremble, were better value than Osa Odighizuwa and at number 75, and which is why I would have to put a letter grade on this, although the need was there, a letter grade of an average C. All right. Now let's go ahead and move on to talk about Chauncey Golston. The defensive end, Chauncey Golston, was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys just a few picks later from Osa Odighizuwa at number 84. All right, so 9 picks later, they're on the clock again. And again, they could have selected Quinn Miners here, but they opted not to, right? And this pick, number 84, if you guys remember, I just talked about this, was acquired from Philadelphia for moving back from 10 to 12 to get Micah Parsons and for the Eagles to shoot up 2 spots ahead of the New York Giants to select Devontae Smith. So in doing so, this was basically a luxury pick that that otherwise didn't have. When they went ahead and made this pick, I would have selected and was shocked that they didn't go Quinn Miners. They decided not to get help for Connor Williams, who's in the last year of his contract. Why not get Quinn Miners here? You didn't get him at 75, but you can get him at 84, and you didn't do it neither. So who would you rather have, Miners or Golston? Chauncey Golston, defensive end Chauncey Golston. Give me Miners any day of the week. If I was to put a letter grade on this, I give him the pass at 75. I'm not going to give him the pass at 84. When it comes to Quinn Miners, I'm going to have to give him a letter grade of a D. All right. Now let's move on their 3rd round pick. Look at, they had 3 3rd-round picks, the Dallas Cowboys, and this is really where you win the draft, in my opinion. 3rd, 4th rounds. Quarterback Nahshon Wright, right? They used the shotgun approach, just like I talked about earlier, when they should have got Paulson Adebo. They waited 20-something picks to go ahead and get Nahshon Wright at number 99 in the 3rd round. Again, what they should have done with their first 3rd-round pick was select Paulson Adebo. They didn't do it. Now they're getting sloppy thirds in Nahshon Wright. Now, in fairness, Nahshon Wright was the first cornerback of a line of quarterbacks that come off the board in the tail end of the 3rd round. However, so they had their choice of the litter. However, with that being said, Paulson Adebo is head above shoulders at any one of those quarterbacks drafted in the tail end of the 3rd. So with that being said, I'm going to put a letter grade of C because, again, I get the positional pick. I just didn't like the picks that were made and when they were made in the 3rd round, especially with Nahshon Wright. Now let's move on to Jabril Cox. I really like this pick, boy. LSU Jabril Cox. He was drafted in the 4th round, number 115. This is one of the steals of the 4th round in my estimation. Again, you had Sean Lee retiring. You have Leighton Vander Esch's injury history. They use a shotgun approach at linebacker. They already did it in the 1st round with Micah Parsons. They roll down, get the steal of the 4th round in the draft, in my opinion, or one of the steals. The other one is probably Bobby around the 3rd for the LA Rams that I talked about earlier on in the earlier podcast. But with that being said, Cox has the potential to be a really solid special teams player, right? A really special player. So if anything else, he provides depth at linebacker with special teams core talent. So with that being said, I really like this pick because in the 4th round, this draft class is not very deep to begin with, but when you take a chance on a guy like Jabril Cox, who comes out of a strong program like LSU, Ed Orgeron, you know the history that he has working with his players there. I really like this selection. And again, if I had to put a letter grade on Jabril Cox, I just added him as a special teams core player. He's going to make the 53-man roster. Make no mistake about it. I would have to give him a letter grade of an A. I really like this pick. All right. Now let's go ahead and move on. Pull up the ticker here. The remaining draft picks, again, I talked about it in earlier live streams and in real time as the draft was unfolding. As you guys know, if you guys watched my live streams, I was doing the Mel Kiper, my best version of Mel Kiper as the draft was unfolding, watching the draft, providing my in-depth analysis in real time. I said teams are going to be using the shotgun approach. That's what I've been hearing from 4th round to 7th round. And again, that's what you see here with the Dallas Cowboys. They got offensive tackle Josh Ball in the 4th round at number 138. They got wide receiver Simi Fehoko in the 5th round at number 179. They got defensive tackle Quinton Bohanna in the 6th round, number 192. Cornerback Israel Mukuamu in the 6th round, number 227. And offensive guard Matt Farniok in the 7th round, number 238. So if I was to put a letter grade on this, again, I'm taking into account everything, all the pre-draft trades that were made, all the players that are required, all the future draft picks that were required. I'm going to have to give him a letter grade of a B because I do like Micah Parsons. I do think he could be the defensive player, rookie of the year, teaming up with Jalen Smith, and that could be one of the best 1-2 punches in the NFL when it's all said and done. I also like the Kelvin Joseph pick. However, I think they were better served to go in another direction. I always spoke about that and how they got Kelvin Joseph. I would have rather them roll the dice on Asante Samuel Jr., but it is what it is, whatever. They got Osa Odighizuwa, missed on Quinn Miners. They got Chauncey Golston, again, missed on Quinn Miners, and ultimately came back around with the cornerback position at Nahshon Wright when they could have had Paulson and Debo. So in a sense, I like some of the picks that were made. I like how they went defensive all the way through this entire draft class. So if I was to put a letter grade on the Dallas Cowboys draft, I would have to put a letter grade of a solid B. All right. Well, that'll be it for today. I hope you liked what I had to say. If you did, please hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. So BEASTwriter family, what are your thoughts? I love engaging with you on this platform. Please leave your comments. Again, welcome to the BEASTwriter family. I'll be sure to put up another podcast staying within the NFC East as it pertains to the Washington football team. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care. BEASTwriter out.